Hello and welcome to the Retirement Planning Podcast, your trusted source for navigating the path to a secure retirement. Your host and guide on this journey towards financial peace of mind is Darren McComas. On this show, we'll delve into everything you need to know about retirement planning, from investment strategies and risk management to maximizing your Social Security benefits and crafting a resilient financial plan using the bucket plan financial process. Join me as we bring you insights from top financial experts, share stories of successful retirement journeys, and provide practical tips to help you build and preserve your wealth. Let's embark on this adventure together as we strive towards a future where retirement isn't just a dream, but a well-planned reality.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Retirement Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Darren McComas, owner of Evergreen Wealth Advisors. So today is part 2 of a 3-part series we're filming called It's Not What You Make, It's What You Keep. And when we're talking about retirement planning, I think that title is so appropriate, right? It's not what we make, it's what we get to keep. Part 1 we filmed a few weeks ago. That was about giving back your gains. This year we've seen a lot of volatility with the stock markets and the S&P 500, NASDAQ, Dow Jones, all in negative territory, approaching bear market territory. And we've talked with a few people recently across this country that their sole focus, not clients of ours, but their sole focus was really about chasing stock market returns. And in our viewpoint, that's a very wrong way to go about looking at how to create a retirement plan. We want a plan that's built for the long haul, not with chasing the stock market at all-time highs. We even had one gentleman, won't name names, but he wanted to give half of his IRA, around $1 million, half of it to us, half of it to another advisor, and have a competition to see who could have the highest returns. Whoever won would then obviously get the full account. And we weren't interested in that kind of competition. But it reiterated how many people out there have been just looking at how much they can grow their accounts by being super aggressive with the stock market and not really having any kind of financial plan. And drawdowns really hurt in retirement, especially if you're taking income by selling assets. You take part of your portfolio, you liquidate it, and you take that cash for income. And what they end up running into is a real sequence of returns risk. And so we dug into all of that in episode 1. If you want to check that out. Part 2 today is really about taxes, right? Death and taxes. The tax man always cometh. And it's about having a plan, not only to mitigate your risk in the markets and mitigate sequence of return risk, but also mitigate the risk when it comes to taxes. Healthcare and taxes are usually retirees' 2 biggest bills. So what we can do by being proactive is usually save our clients thousands of dollars by having a proactive tax plan and an income plan. We'll dig in that today. And really it comes down to how well are you diversified? Is all your money in pre-tax accounts, or do you have funds spread out between other kinds of tax funnels? We'll dig into that later today. And then in a few weeks, we're going to film part 3, which is about protecting your blind side, right? And making sure that you have the proper protection in place to protect yourself, also your spouse. And we'll definitely dig into that in a couple weeks. All right. Again, we're having a lot of conversations, not only with clients. We just got tax season in the rearview mirror. And a lot of our clients have been doing Roth conversions the last several years and being very proactive, because they know taxes are most likely going to increase over their lifetime. Even if Trump and the current administration that's in office right now makes these tax codes permanent, I would say tax codes are written in pencil. And while we may get a 4-year extension at these historically low tax rates that we're currently under, that were set to expire at the end of 2025, we might get a 4-year extension. But what happens when the next administration gets in office in 4 years or 8 years from now? Will the tax codes change? And with the United States approaching $40 trillion in debt, my guess is something on the tax front is going to have to happen, and something to raise taxes down the road. So our clients are in the camp, let's be proactive today. Let's take advantage of these historically low rates. If it's a good idea, let's do some Roth conversions and move some of this money into a tax-free, tax-advantaged account where with the Roth IRA, there are no required minimum distributions. The government can't force you to take that money out if you don't want to spend it. And when you do want to spend it, it's tax-free. It's tax-free to you. It's tax-free to your spouse if she inherits that one day. And it's tax-free to your beneficiaries as well. So a lot of our clients want to do those conversions. And when we run the calculations using our financial planning software, it most often projects out saving them tens of thousands, if not more than $100,000 in lifetime federal income taxes. We've also talked with a handful of people who have reaching out for help. Some very savvy people, really understand the markets, really understand investments, but have a very limited knowledge of how taxes work in retirement. Just spoke with a gentleman, and he went in the bank the other day to take a couple $100,000 out of his IRA account. I think it was over $300,000. And he was shocked when they told him that he's going to owe over 30% in taxes on that. And he had no idea, again, that this money sitting in those IRA accounts, that money, when you pull it out, can be counts as income. And of course, you're going to get taxed. All these conversations that we've had with people, there seems to be a huge gap in knowledge of how taxes work in retirement. Like a lot of people have mentioned that, gosh, I thought taxes would go down in retirement. I don't have the income from work anymore. Why are my taxes staying the same or even going up? And a lot of it has to do around required minimum distributions and how that works and how that can actually push you into higher income tax brackets. And I love this image. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're going to put this image up here, but really it shows a chart here, taxes you paid versus taxes you could have paid. And the gap between those two is just lack of planning. And I think when you're proactive and you're willing to do some things today to put you in a better situation down the road, it can get your money that you've saved up, your retirement nest egg, and really stretch it and make sure you don't run out of money down the road. And just because you stop working, right, taxes don't go away. Income is income, whether it's earned income while you're working or it's distribution income out of a 401k or IRA, it's all taxed the same, right? Things I think you should consider when you're entering a retirement are, what are your RMDs going to look like? Required minimum distributions. What's your viewpoint on inflation? For a long time there, Americans really didn't have to worry about high inflation. And then all of a sudden, since the pandemic, inflation seems to be on everyone's mind. And will it keep going up? Now we have all this tariff talk. What will that do with inflation? So something to factor into your financial plan are high rates of inflation. What stress will that put on your overall financial plan? Taxation of Social Security benefits. There's a lot of people that are confused that don't realize that their Social Security benefits can be taxed, right? And up to 85% of your Social Security check can be taxed at your normal federal income tax rate. So it's really what we want to do is pay attention to what bracket we're in and when did those RMDs kick in and what could that do to your Social Security benefit. And Medicare premiums, right? There's another domino that can fall if we're not paying attention to where our income is coming from. Medicare premiums are based on your annual income and they have a 2-year look back. So we want to make sure when we need income or if we have a major project, a kitchen repair, maybe we want to buy a travel trailer or something, and you pull money out of the wrong account, it can drastically increase your Medicare premiums and cause your Social Security check to be taxed at the same time. Another concept, widow tax trap. We're going to dig into that towards the end of today's podcast. And then leaving a legacy. Is that an important goal of yours? So here at Evergreen Wealth Advisors, we're part of Prosperity Capital Advisors, the Bucket Plan people. If you haven't had a chance, this is an amazing book, The Bucket Plan, written by Jason Smith, who is one of the founding fathers of Prosperity Capital Advisors that we are a part of. The bucket plan system is the foundation of how we do our planning. Really, there's 3 buckets of money. There's the now, the soon, and the later buckets. And We have a couple episodes where we really dive into that, and I won't go into a lot of detail on that, but that's the foundation of how we do our planning here in this office. And then what we often do is we overlay these tax funnels along with the bucket plan to make sure we have money in the proper accounts. So when we need to generate income in retirement, we're doing it in the most tax efficient way. Think about this. So we'll put this graphic up again if you're watching on YouTube. There's 3 different funnels. And the pre-tax funnel, that's your 401k, your 403b, your 457. It could be your IRA money and even your pensions, right? That money has not been taxed. It's been put away while you're working. Now, when you take it out in retirement, it's going to get taxed as ordinary income. And again, we have to be careful how much we're pulling out of that funnel and where we are in the tax brackets. Then on the middle funnel, that's the post-tax funnel. So you're talking your brokerage accounts where and as well as your bank accounts, real estate. And when you take income from this funnel, you're taxed on the growth, right? The capital gains. And those tend to be, for a lot of people in retirement, those can be more favorable than pulling money out of that pre-tax funnel. Again, depending on where you're at. Capital gains tax rates could be 0 if your income is low enough, and then it jumps up to 15% and then 20%. So if you're normally in the 24% federal income bracket, taking some income from that post-tax funnel might actually save you some money if you can get it out at 15 or 20%. And then my favorite funnel is the tax advantage funnel on the right-hand side. And that's where contributions are made into a Roth IRA or a health savings plan or even cash value life insurance. And when you take that money out of that funnel, there are no taxes, right? Most distributions out of that funnel are completely tax-free. So we take these 2 critical concepts, the bucket plan and those tax-efficient funnels, and we combine them. And when we sit down and first meet with people who are potentially going to become a client of ours, we lay out this tic-tac-toe grid here with the funnels on the left side and the now, soon, and later on the top. And we're looking at where's your money currently positioned. Do you have any now bucket money that's completely safe, completely liquid for income for the next 12 months? And then what funnel are you pulling that income from? And do we have any blanks? The ultimate goal for me would be to have all 9 of these cells filled up with some money so that we're well diversified across different time horizons as well as different tax funnels. Then we look at the soon bucket and eventually the later bucket. What we typically find with people is they have a ton of money in that pre-tax funnel, and it ends up being a lot of it, a good portion of it out there in that later bucket strategy, maybe all of it out there in that later bucket strategy, and they have very little, if any, in the now and soon buckets. So I think when it's important when planning for retirement, not only that you're diversified with your investments across different time horizons, but also in different tax funnels. Then you could blend your income together from 3 different tax funnel sources, and you really now have a lot of control of what your federal income tax, state income taxes are going to be. And who doesn't love control? This is a critical concept we teach a lot in our seminars. It's about RMDs, required minimum distributions. Right now, for most retirees, when they hit 73, the government's going to force you to start taking money out of those pre-tax accounts, whether you need it or not. You're going to have to. That first word of RMDs is required. And what I tell people is it doesn't stay, it's not a flat rate throughout your lifetime. Every year you age, the government's going to force you to take a little higher percentage and more. Now, the more your IRA grows because it's getting great growth in the markets, awesome. You're just going to increase the amount of RMDs you're going to have to take out. Now, why do we care about increasing RMDs? It has to do with your tax bracket, right? And maybe today you're currently in that 12% tax bracket and you're at the top, you're married, you're making around $94,000 of income. What is it going to look like when those RMDs kick in? And is that going to push you up into the 22% bracket? Or maybe you're in the 24% bracket today and those RMDs kick in down the road and push you into the 32. So we're talking significant jumps in federal income taxes. This is what we do. We do this analysis with everyone we meet, and we look at what kind of opportunities do we have to be proactive within those tax rates. And it's really these RMDs I call create this domino effect. Each year you get older, you have to pull out a little higher percentage, and that could push you into higher federal income tax brackets, state income tax brackets, but it can also trigger your Social Security to be taxed at a higher percentage, increase your Medicare premiums, and so on. So it's this domino effect that we want to avoid. This is an example of some people we've worked with about being proactive. This couple came to us, wanted to do Roth conversions, felt taxes were going to go up significantly in their lifetime, and they wanted to get out ahead of it. And they were in their 60s, so we have plenty of time before their RMDs kick in to be more aggressive, move more of their pre-tax money into their Roth IRAs and save them well over $100,000. At least that's what the software is projecting, and add a significant amount to their portfolio value. And I tell people, $1 of Roth IRA money is a lot more valuable than $1 of traditional IRA money. The Roth has been washed of those taxes, right? And so when you need to take income down the road, that Roth IRA gives you a lot of flexibility because now you can pull from a tax-free bucket. I'm not saying Roth conversions are appropriate for everyone, by no means, but let's run the numbers. Let's weigh the pros and cons and see, does a Roth conversion not only save you money in lifetime taxes, but could it possibly increase the value of your portfolio? And for us, those Roth accounts typically end up in that later bucket strategy, invested more for growth. And our thinking is, gosh, if we can have some good stretches in the market over the next 10, 15 years, the market is going to pay back a lot of those taxes that we had to pay to get the money into the Roth in the first place. So it can be a wonderful strategy. And I want to hit on this. I alluded to this earlier, but the widow tax trap. For those that are married, right? Think about this. Us guys, we just don't live as long as our spouse. Typically, most women die early or die widowed, single, than their male counterparts. And if you have a lot of money in pre-tax accounts and you're taking those RMDs in retirement, you get to file a joint return when you're married. But what happens when one spouse passes away, right? You lose that tax filing status of filing a joint return, and now you're filing as a single widow, and those tax brackets get cut in half. And this is where, but the RMDs do not go away. Those required minimum distributions don't get halved, right? You still have to take out the same required minimum distribution for your spouse, but you lose the tax bracket as filing a single filer. So we call it the widow tax trap, and it can significantly put the surviving widow in a precarious place because now their taxes have gone up significantly. And what we often find is that spending doesn't go down just because one of you is no longer there. Sometimes spending actually increases with the widow, but we just lose half a tax bracket. So we want to make sure that our money can last, obviously, our lifetimes. And for most of our clients, they want to leave a legacy. And by having all of your money in a pre-tax account, one spouse passes away, it can leave the surviving spouse in a dangerous position where taxes could overwhelm that retirement plan. And then, of course, legacy planning. A lot of our clients, at the end of the day, want to leave behind some sort of nest egg for their kids, grandkids, and they don't want to leave a tax time bomb. Right now, with the Secure Act 2.0 that was passed a few years ago, if you leave behind traditional IRA money, 401k money, to a non-spouse beneficiary, they have to drain those accounts within 10 years of inheriting them. And if your kid is making great income, they're in their 50s, 60s, at the top of their pay scale, and they inherit IRA money from mom or dad and have to take out big chunks each year, a lot of that legacy that you wanted to leave behind and eventually could end up right back at the IRS. So being proactive, avoiding that widow tax trap, setting your beneficiaries up better by leaving perhaps a tax-free Roth IRA behind as a huge legacy for them instead of a tax nightmare. Huge advantages. So my final thoughts on this: be proactive, have a plan, have a financial plan, but also have a plan for taxes, because it's not about what you make. It's about what you get to keep. And who wants to leave the IRS a huge tip just because we weren't willing to run the plans, run the numbers, and be proactive today? I hope you enjoyed this episode. We're going to do a lot more episodes about taxes, but again, for us, it's the powerful combination of the bucket plan and tax planning and tax management that can really stretch your dollars in retirement. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We're going to continue to crank these out every few weeks. Check us out on our website at ewadvisors.com. Again, that's ewadvisors.com. If you're listening to us and want to talk with us, book that appointment and have that free 15, 20-minute phone consultation with us, and we'll see if we can help you out. All right. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And again, check us out at ewadvisors.com as well as on social media. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Planning Podcast. We hope we inspired you to make changes so you can live your best life. If you want to find out more about what we do, or if you want to have a holistic wealth and health financial plan, please visit our website. Please subscribe to the podcast and share it widely with your friends and family. Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors. PCA is an SEC registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. Evergreen Wealth Advisors and PCA are separate non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance offered through Evergreen Wealth Advisors are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including but not limited to age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information pertaining to the registration status of PCA. Please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Discourse website disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the discourse statement carefully before you invest or send money.